What up guys, Bruja here, and today I am back to talk about moon phases and what kind of magic that you can perform during those moon phases. So this video is going to be more pointed towards, I guess, beginners, but then again, there's certain things that a lot of witches don't know how to do with moon phases and how to utilize them to their full potential. So hopefully whoever's watching this, intermediate, advanced, beginner, maybe you can take something from this and learn something from it, or feel like you're not alone on how you utilize this moon phase in particular. The way that it's presented a lot of the time is mainly for a Wiccan-based audience. And if you guys know me well enough, I'm not Wiccan. And I believe that we have the right to perform whatever magic that we wish to perform. I believe that we are karma, because karma cannot come quick enough sometimes, so you have to act in that sort of situation. Without further ado, I'm going to take you guys through Moon Phase Magic 101 in my terms on how I see it and how I feel it and how I've experienced it throughout my journey of witchcraft. We're going to start off with the full moon. This is a good representative right over here. Full moon is usually good for anything because this is when the moon is at its peak. It's accumulated all the energy that it can. It's built up until this point. So now you can utilize the energy at its fullest. But this is not the only time that you can do that. There is also another time that you can utilize the energy at its fullest. And a lot of people don't think of that because full moon is not in that sort of term or in that sentence of, hey, I could use the energy at this time because it's neutral. We'll get into that later. So full moon, first off, symbolizes energy at its peak. This is literally when the gravitational pull to our planet from the moon is at its most energetic, and it affects everybody. You may not realize that, but it actually does. It has an effect on your mood. It has an effect on the tides of the ocean. It has an effect on everything. Whether how subtle or extreme it may be, it does. So do your research on that. If you would like to know more about the gravitational pull of the moon, then put up Google and start plugging away. Typically, during the full moon phase, you can perform any magic that you would like to heighten, because the energy is at its peak, so that means whatever you're performing at that time will have basically threefold the effect it normally would be if you performed it on any other moon cycle. Ones that I highly recommend: charge items, protection magic. You can also banish at this time, but I prefer to banish at a different cycle of the moon. That's just my preference, but a lot of people like to use it that way for the full moon. Also, hex and curse work can be utilized at this point in time. In a lot of different cultures, the full moon symbolizes the perfect time to rain down that energy, because that energy is already messing with your mind state as is, so that's a perfect time to hex, curse, or perform some sort of domination magic upon the mind or the person that you're trying to work towards. Next up is the waxing gibbous or gibbous, or however the fuck you want to pronounce that. I love to butcher things just to piss people off. So waxing moon typically means you are bringing things into you. It's slowly becoming full, so if you want to attract anything, that is a good time to do it. Some people prefer a 3-day attraction spell, or you would like to start on a later date, on a later phase of the moon, and slowly build up to the full moon. So that's up to you, depending on the type of working that you need in your life at that time, that you feel like you need to exert more energy to pull that certain something towards you. So just feel that out. When in doubt, feel it out, guys. That's typically what the moon is for. This is emotionally based. It's attached to your emotions. So if you feel like you need that extra time, or if it feels right at a certain time, that's typically when you should do it. It's calling to you for a reason. If you want to build success, waxing gibbous is a good time to do it. If you're trying to attract abundance, that is a good time to do it. You can also perform money magic. If you just don't want to be abundant in one certain area, then money magic is a good thing to perform at that time. And of course, dream magic, because dream magic is a good time to perform at least 2 to 3 days in advance of the full moon. But if you have that last waxing phase that you can utilize before the full moon happens, which will give you that epic amount of dreamage that you need, then that's a good time to do it. It's a wonderful time to do it, because when the full moon is at its peak, That's when your dreams are the most out of control, the most significant signs and meaning are going to come through at that time. Also, you can attract good health during the waxing gibbous. That's when it's the prime time to pull these things into your life because the moon is slowly becoming full. If you want that to be at its peak, at its prime, and you need that healing and health sort of magic, then use that 2 to 3 day period to keep working it until it's full. So next up, I'm going to move on to the first quarter moon. The first quarter is typically good for divination and any sort of divination practice that you would like to perform for a certain amount of time to slowly accumulate a more clear answer as the phase slowly becomes full, as it slowly comes into fruition of a better vision. First quarter moon is also great to perform any sort of love or relationship magic that you're slowly trying to build and make stronger. First quarter moon also good for luck magic. You can also just do it on the first quarter, or you can perform some sort of 3-day trial of luck magic if you'd like to. First quarter is also good for money magic as well, and any other sort of 3-day workings that you would like to implement at this time. If you're trying to gain weight and you're having a hard time gaining weight, the first quarter moon would be typically a good time to start, because at that time you're in a 50-50 limbo stage of the old you and becoming a new you. When the moon is becoming whole is when you're drawing things to you, into you. So if you have problems gaining weight, you want to attract, you need it, and you're struggling with an eating disorder, there's a certain type of phase that you need to gain weight. So you have to focus on what you need to do in order to be successful at this point in time, and what kind of energies you need to utilize at this certain time. We're going to move on to the waxing crescent. The waxing crescent is typically for something that's on construction that you're slowly trying to build and piece together and make whole and bring that into you. So just like the first quarter, you can use this phase to build up to the full moon. So this can be longer than a 3-day course magic. If this is something that you are having a hard time accumulating and you might have to start sooner, use the waxing crescent phase to do that. If you are trying to draw in a partner and you are really, really looking to commit and you want that love in your life, then the waxing crescent phase is the phase that you need to utilize. This is one of those phases where you might have to do a long constructive love magic to bring in that right person, not just any person, the right person. Don't use love magic to draw in some temporary stupid fool. You don't need that in your life. It's a waste of time. Typically, when we want to fall in love is when we're more mature, especially in here. Not just the body. The body can mature when you're like fucking 10, because that's what happened to me. So when you're mature in here and you have realistic goals and visions and where you want to be in life, start achieving those things is typically the best time. Drawing a partner, with my experience, I'd say do it then, because you're sound in yourself, you're sound in your opinions. You're not going to let people manipulate your mindset and your point of views and what you like just because you want to impress someone or keep someone. That's stupid. You need to be your true, authentic you to attract the right person into your life. When you're mature enough, and during this moon phase is the appropriate time to start drawing in that true partner that's going to love you for the rest of your life. The waxing crescent is also good for a 3-day or longer money working if you'd like, and a 3-day or longer success spell that you would like to perform. You can also perform luck magic at this time to bring that in. You can also perform healing magic or any sort of health concerning magic at this time. The waxing crescent is also good to bring in a new home. So if you guys are trying to move, which eventually I am trying to move, especially now that we're only just getting older, and I'm like, any area that is like a warmer climate would be fantastic. Whenever we move, I'm going to use waxing crescent phase to bring in that home that we want. Next up is the new moon, and also what some call the dark moon, because the dark moon is a neutral state, sort of blackout energy. If you think about it, there is a lot more dark matter floating around us than there is light. And what is that dark matter doing? It's actually a neutral energy, the same as the light. You can utilize light into dark energy if you wanted to. So don't think your light is everything and then some and have your head up your fucking ass, because it's not. Energy is anything you want it to be until utilized. So this dark moon or new moon, whichever way you would like to use it, since it's neutral, you can curse, hex, do divination, do a return to sender magic, because that's a good time. Because typically when the new moon comes around, or dark moon, it's a renewal stage. It's a stage of where you want to release this energy. You feel an epic buildup of release inside of you, and you need to get rid of it. So you start cleaning your home and shit and doing all these crazy things and thinking about how this person fucked you up and you need to return that shit back. You know what moon phases those typically fall on? More often than not, my guy starts cleaning shit on the beginning of the new moon phase. He starts getting that energy going. He feels it's been stagnant for too long. So he starts doing that shit. And I'm like, guess what day it is? And he's like, what? I'm like, well, it's a new moon phase. The beginning. And you're cleaning everything like a little maniac. If you would like to beg the differ of how the moon's energy affects everything, you should check yourself before you wreck yourself. You can cleanse, you can rejuvenate, you can do banishing magic on this day. You can do almost any sort of magic on the new moon, dark moon cycle. This is my favorite cycle. I love this cycle so much. Like this, you can utilize anything with dark matter. Literally, it's neutral energy. Dark is not scary. Dark energy is protective and reflective and can absorb at the same time. It's everything. Dark energy is everything, literally. But then again, there's no darkness without the light. So you need dark and light to come together and work as one so you can get clarification on what you're doing. New moon phase, this would typically be the last day that you can perform weight loss magic, because you're trying to get rid of the weight. This will be like a one and done sort of thing, which I don't highly suggest, but if you know you need just like a little kick in the pants and you can just pretty much commit after that, then kudos to you. Some of us need to do a longer ritual than that. We need to keep performing that for a certain amount of days until we can get into a habit, and then that weight loss magic can actually become successful and rubs off on us and we keep doing it. I'm going to go into the waning gibbous phase, or gibbous, or whatever the hell you want to fucking call that. You should get it by now, that's what I'm saying. The waning gibbous phase is typically good for returning to sender, because at this point in time, you're building this up to the new moon phase, where it's going to be released and built up and returned threefold. However much damage you would like to do upon this person will be returned to that person. And gibbous is good for shadow work as well, and shadow work is perfect to do on the new moon as well, because hence it's a big fat shadow. Waning gibbous is good for cord cutting, snip snip, because sometimes you do binding magic or some sort of love magic that you regret because you didn't think it through enough, or listen to signs or see the signs that this person was just not right for you. Tisk tisk. You should hold off. You should not do these sorts of magic right away. You need to know this person, you need to build a relationship with this person. Just because they're your friend and they move in with you once upon a time, you think they're going to be the same person once you're in a relationship or they're living with you. They're not. You like to think they are, but they're not. They change. People change. And you don't have to live with your best friend until that one time where you decide to start dating, and then it's all history from there. Just keep those things in mind. Keep those things in mind. Also, the waning gibbous is good for cleansing. Next up is the last quarter moon. The last quarter moon is good for banishing, weight loss magic, hex and curse breaking. Same with the new moon. It is also good for hex and curse breaking. Breaking any sort of bad habits, any sort of 3-day working, or possibly a 7-day working, depending on what kind of energy you are trying to get to cycle through those phases. Because you have to remember now, once it goes through the new moon, it's going to push that energy out as something that's going to be accumulated. But accumulated into what motion do you want that to be accumulated in? What kind of circumstance do you want that to be accumulated in? So think about that a few times before you decide what kind of magic you want to do for a longer working. because these phases only typically last like a couple days or so, and then you have to utilize the next step of that energy of the moon phase that is coming into fruition at that time. Last but not least is the waning crescent. This time is good to do a 7-day sort of magic course. The waning crescent is good to get rid of illnesses, any sort of health problems that you think will need some sort of time to keep implementing that energy, to have it build up, cycle through, go through that new moon, and come out as a new person. That's typically what this point in time is going to you putting towards the work, becoming somebody new, implementing new habits to achieve that optimum health, and then you're going to become a whole new person as the moon becomes whole. And also, this is a good time for breaking addictions, which is one of the hardest things to do. Let's say you have problems with binge eating, where you drink a little more than what you'd like, but you're not a full-blown alcoholic, this is a good phase to utilize. Some addictions are going to take more work than that, especially if you're addicted to drugs. That takes a really strong mindset to overcome, because withdrawals are complicated depending on what you are hooked on. If you're drinking a little too much, slowly cut back. And as that phase circles back into a full moon, you can become that new person. This should be long enough for you to implement this into a habit, a routine that you can keep doing. Remember, once you stray from the routine, the rest of your mind is like, oh, it's fine, we can take a breather, we can relax. This is something that you have to keep doing, especially if you have an addictive personality. So this ritual needs to be something that you do every fucking day, that you have enough time for. So make sure you have enough time for yourself. This is always what it comes down to. Having enough time for yourself. Are you having enough time for yourself? Are you doing things that give you quick fixes, quick highs, quick, sensations of feeling good? And then you get hooked on it. You don't need to get hooked on that stuff, because you're worth having the time out to yourself, regardless of how someone else may make you feel. If someone's making you feel shitty because you need time to yourself, then you do not need them. Long story short, I'm not changing my answer. I'd like to mention that the new moon is great for doing a past life meditation or some sort of past life reading, because when you're in the dark, you can see everything. You can see everything that you couldn't see when the light was shining in your face so brightly, and it made you feel confused. When I'm like in the dark and it's quiet, all the lights are off, there's nothing there but me, I can see 1,000 things. I can feel 1,000 things because I'm still, and I can let myself just be still and be one without being disturbed. And that's how I like doing a lot of my meditations. It's just quiet in the dark with some incense lit. In my opinion, that's how you can utilize all these moon phases. I hope you guys give this a shot. Try these things during these moon phases. See how your outcome is compared to other days that you would normally just perform them whenever, Compare it, journal it, write it down, decipher how the outcome is when your spell did hit versus when it did not. It was a hit or miss. Record everything. Just record it. It's all a learning experience. Some things may work better for you than others, and that's fine. I don't expect this to work for everybody. Energies are all unique, and some of us will agree with others, where others will be like, that's a complete swing and a miss for me. That's fine. I'm not trying to hit everybody's ego, but I'm trying to explain how it feels for me, and hopefully that is the same way that it feels for you, because I'm here to help people that feel a little lost because they've been hearing all this bullshit all over social media that it should be this way, when I feel like it is not. Trial and error is going to build your confidence in your craft. So once you start doing things against the grain, against what media says, because everybody loves to be cattle and follow the leader because it's popular, you're going to find out that all that was bullshit, and you were right all along because you listened to yourself. All right, guys, so that's all I have for you. Until next time, I will see all you lovely little brujitas later.